Hello, this is Will Faerber, and we're looking at a first submission by Erin of her horse Sonny. Sonny is an 11-year-old horse that Erin has been riding for a while. It was a school horse that she was just able to purchase, though she's been riding it for 7 years. And he was a very difficult horse for the students, which is why I'm sure she ended up with him. But he responded to her in some way, so she has bought him and is doing the work of rehabbing him, bringing him back. He had a back injury and some other problems that he's coming back from, and she wants to get started right, and it looks like she's doing just that. So here in the walk, we want that to be a little more active. But compared to some of the photo that you sent me of this horse with his head straight in the air, I can certainly see why he might have had a back problem. But you're doing a great job with him here so far, and obviously I've watched the video once through, and you're getting him to a really nice place, and certainly getting the beginnings of the right stuff happening. So good job. Now I notice you don't have side reins on here, which is not a bad thing as long as the horse will stretch without them. We do it all the time with our horses, especially ones that have broken the neck. Once we teach them to lunge, we just start to lunge them without anything at all to get them to stretch down, because all the horses that have been broken in the neck, as soon as we put side reins on them, they just curl back behind the motion. So either a shambone or no side reins at all is helpful. But with this one, it looks like it certainly could use to have side reins on. That is just long. Once again, if you don't know how to adjust those, go to our website and watch the videos on lunging there to figure out how to do that. The main thing is they should just be just long enough the horse can bring its head up but not all the way up. That's basically it, that it can't throw its head straight up in the air. And that's where the side reins would intervene. So we never use the side reins to force the horse into a position, as we see people doing all the time. This is what, in shortening the inside rein too much, this sort of thing, because that only just ends up with the horse being sore and broken in the neck. But what you're doing here is just fine. I love how he's stretching down. There's where we want to get him to, like that. And notice how, as the horse's head went down, immediately the back leg started swinging. Once again, that's what you want to watch all the time. The head and neck is just an indication of what might be going on in the rest of the horse. But this is really going to be quite nice when I think it's all done. There, good stretch like that. Once again, he becomes a little more active. The hind legs don't look quite so much like they're stuck in mud, though it could be more active in swinging. But this is a good place to start. Actually, looks like quite a nice fellow. So again, just a little more active. Try to keep the slack out of that line all the time so we can maintain contact like you're doing there. That's more like it. And just try to encourage the horse to get a little bit more forward in your walk. We just like to see a much more swing. There you go, like that. For some reason, like that corner over there. Seems to stretch down better there. There you go. That's not bad. Once again, it could have a bigger, more swinging walk to it, but this is not bad and certainly a good place to start off. I would suggest going to the draw reins not draw reins. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Side reins with this horse, as it looks like he could use a little help just beginning to maintain contact, which is really what they're for. The side reins are just to get the horse used to the idea of something being attached to its mouth that it has to create contact with without pulling. And that's the problem when we shorten the side reins or shorten one on one side too much, is we end up bending the horse's neck over and they end up just hanging on the inside rein. But once again, this is a pretty nice walk. Just needs to be more active once. Continue to try to send the horse forward in the walk when you do this. Certainly looks like a good fellow. As you said, you ended up with him because nobody else could ride him. So I've ended up with a few horses that way myself over the years. So that's good. It means he must have responded to you, in some way better than the other people that were riding him. The trouble with most school horses and most riding schools, unfortunately, is the horses get ridden by too many people and who hang on their mouths, and most of the schools really don't take the time to get the horses working correctly over their backs. It's just putting people on some kind of horse, and really that doesn't teach the horse anything. It doesn't teach the rider anything. So many people, unfortunately, grow up riding rent horses or riding school horses that are hollow in the back, and and the teachers have to yell at the students all the time about making them do this or that, where there's it's always coercive, that kind of riding, instead of developing the horses correctly. This horse looks like a really nice type. I think you're going to have a really nice horse here once you get him working over his back a little more. Once again, this trot is just too slow. You can see how the hind legs are too far, but once again, as he stretches down there for 1 second, it looked better behind. And that's what we want to see. Once again, keep noticing, the reason that we do this is we're trying to find the optimal position of the horse and the optimal speed and depth of step for the horse while it's working, so that we get the optimal development over the horse's top line. And I do think side reins would help this horse. I don't see him needing a sham bone, but something just to let him be a little more consistent in the stretch. But this is a better trot now that you've got him moving. This is becoming a little more rhythmic now. Having some moments. Once again, keep trying to get the horse to yield its hindquarters a little bit. You notice this horse goes a little bit with its hindquarters to the inside a lot of the time. That means he's sort of swinging his hips at you, and that's what we want. He must yield a little more. We don't want that to happen. So we want him to yield so he comes around there. That's it. So try to keep a little more slack out of your right line. Sometimes when you're lunging, you're getting a little head of his eye, which is what slows him down. So be sure you stay, when you're lunging, at the top of a triangle formed by your hand with the whip to the horse's hindquarters and the line to the horse's mouth. So just try to keep a little more slack out of the line when you're lunging, just like riding. The rein is your rein. If you don't have, it's full of slack, you can't really communicate with him, as quickly as we need to. But this trot is looking better as he's going. He's already starting to stretch on his own. Most horses will stretch on their own given time. Babies almost all do it within 5 minutes that we lunge them if they're getting lunged correctly. And once again, if they get started that way, that's what we would like every horse to do. But it doesn't matter how old they are, as long as they're sound, and we can bring them back and develop them over their top lines, and they can actually sort of, like a person, who suddenly decides to get fit and eat right, you can reverse the aging process to a great deal if you haven't done a lot of damage to yourself. Well, the same thing is true of horses. If they're not totally damaged or, have developed something that's, going to keep them from really working, like navicular or something like this, and those horses really should just be retired. And when the horse is in pain, you can only mask so much pain, like something with like navicular, and it's never a good idea to nerve horses. If a horse is that bad, that it needs to be nerved, that you should just retire them. But this one doesn't look like he has anything wrong with him now. You said he had a back problem after escaping from his stall. You're not sure how he got injured, but he certainly looks pretty good here. And is quite a nice type for an appendix horse. I assume you mean appendix quarter horse when you say that, which means half thoroughbred and half quarter horse, or a great deal of thoroughbred bred into them. But I really like the looks of this horse. I mean, he really looks like a nice character, and looks like he has a lot of ability when you get him developed a little better. Good stretch there. Now, just again, it's a little inactive. See how the hind legs are way behind his body trotting right now? He's not really tracking up. He's not even beginning to track up into the tracks of the front feet. So just send him a little more actively forward. Remember, forward means to engage forward into the body. It doesn't mean to run that away. It means to engage forward in the body. Now that's good there, where he's stretching into that. I think some side reins would help you get this horse stretching a little more consistently, but it's coming around, and if you just get him a little more active consistently, once again, you have a little tendency to get ahead of his eye, stay back behind his eye, and maybe take a little shorter line so that you can walk with it. It means you'll have to walk a little more and do a little more effort yourself. But, the problem here is he keeps coming in and out and in and out, so we want to get him to be able to push out into that outside rein and stay there and keep the trot more consistent. So if you walk with him a little more, see, once again, you came around there, you got a little bit of head of his eye, and that's what slowed him down. So you have to stay at the top of that triangle, too much slack in the rein there. So you'd want to take that up and, and walk with him a little bit. So you have to take bigger steps. It's good for you, though. That's it. Watch that you don't walk in front of him again there. That's why you're losing it when you get over on this part of the open part of the ring. It goes pretty good there because you've got a wall helping you. And then you get over here and you're a little bit ahead of his eye and you're not sending him on enough, and everything kind of falls apart where he falls in on the rail with you right there. So the first thing when we lunge horses that we have to teach them consistently, we don't worry about the frame at all or what they're doing until they'll just stay at the end of the line. So that's what we have to do, is establish this idea that the horse get enough impulsion that he moves out. Though this is a good stretch there, it's coming really nicely, just needs a little more swing in the trot. It's just not quite enough trot. Good stretch there, but once again, just needs to be a little bit more active. But you're going to turn this horse around, and he's going to become really, really nice for you, I have a feeling, from what I'm seeing here. There, like that. Now, what we want is him to do that, but yet stay a little more active and start to engage up underneath himself a little more. That was a better circle that time. Once again, too slow here again. We need to just send him on a little more. And that's the other thing, you know, like if we're using a whip, if we don't ever touch them with it, they pretty soon realize that, you know, the whip doesn't do anything at all. So occasionally, with a horse that's not moving enough, that they're not responding to just the sight of the whip coming at them. And you never want to snap a horse with the whip, by the way. That's not something we ever want to do, which will drive every horse in the neighborhood crazy. You know, if you need to use the whip, don't crack it. Just get close enough to the horse that you can touch the horse with the whip. And that is in that fleshy area above the hock there on the wide part of the buttocks there below the tail, you know, just above with that, or sort of at about the level of where the stifle would be there, if you know what where the horse's stifle is. In other words, so you touch him in that fleshy area. You can also touch the horse on the side of the horse, right where your leg would go to move him out a little bit. But once again, what you need to do is take the slack up in that rein and just walk a little more actively and stay with him, behind him, so you can keep him going a little more actively forward. But you are having some nice moments. If this continues with just a little bit, you know, getting a little more of the right stuff happening, this horse is going to really turn around for you. Once again, I salute all you people up in Canada. We're down here in Southern California where it's very warm, and I'm always impressed with how tough the people are when I go up to Canada, because you really have to want to ride in this kind of cold and you know, and deal with the weather issues that you folks have up there and keep going. So I salute you all. Every time I go up there, I really enjoy the people, because they're more like the people I kind of grew up with, like real horsey folks who, you know, aren't afraid of getting a little cold here and there, or what we have to do. There, that's better. That's a better trot there. You're having some really nice moments with him. Once again, every time his head comes up, think of this way, you know, just like when they hollow, the only way you can improve anything is by getting the horse to engage deeper into the body. So, you know, when the horse's head comes up, what you must do is send him forward, not try to pull the head down, you know. People that you see with draw reins and all these kinds of things using on horses are just heavy hands. You know, they're trying to ride the wrong end of the horse. They're trying to pull the head down into some position. It's the back and the back end that's important to our locomotion, so to speak, not what the head and neck is doing. The head and neck is just a symptom, as it is when we see horses that have been cranked over and they're broken in the third vertebrae and this kind of thing. You know, it's just a symptom of what's going on in the rest of it. But I guarantee every time you see a horse broken in the third vertebrae, they're probably either very hollow, or in the case of some of these very tense type riders that we've seen today who roll for horses and things like that, you know, they get the horses working up to the back, but in this horrible state of tension all the time, which of course destroys all the joints in the horse's legs. It's like no athlete can work in tension and not hurt themselves. Now you put the side reins on, and this is much better. Alrighty, though he's a little slow. The side reins might be well, let's just say this, you wouldn't want them any shorter than that. And with a horse like this, you might make them a little lower. Sometimes it helps if you put them lower down the side of the girth, like more at about the level of the horse's elbow, and just let them be a little longer. Because remember, all we really want the side reins to do is when the horse throws its head up, is we want him to contact that, so we realize he can't get all the way up, and then they'll start stretching down into the contact. So as I said, it may be a little bit lower, but this isn't bad. He's responding to them quite well. Walk needs to be a little more active. So I would say just start from the beginning next time with the side reins on. Just put them on long enough. If they're so long that if you're not forcing the horse into the frame, they can go on right from the very beginning. And that'll help him to get a little more consistent, a little quicker, and you know, you'll get more value for your time spent, so to speak. But I think they could go on lower. It's interesting when you see this horse when he comes around there, you see the development of the neck is mostly on the bottom of the neck, though this horse is going to come around quite quickly. But you see how that there's still a little tension there as he comes around in there in the bottom part of the neck. And as he softens, you see the top part of the neck light up. Well, that's what we want to see. As well as we kind of see it. It's a little harder to see, but ultimately we can see that light up behind the saddle as well. So once again here, just not quite active enough forward. It needs to be a little more forward than this. And once again, so you have all the slack in the rein. So try to keep that slack out of the rein. Once again, get behind the horse a little more. You just have a little bit of tendency to get in front of his eye too much. You know, take a bigger step and walk with him and make the trot a little more active when you do. But once again, this is not bad. You're getting a lot of the right stuff done here. And he's responding to it very well. The same thing here, the trot's just not quite active enough. Now this is better. Starting to have a little more swing in the trot here. But still just needs to be that little bit more active. See, he comes around that corner, you get ahead of his eye, and that's why you lose him right there. So stay back a little more. And once again, occasionally, if you need to touch him with the whip once in a while so he remembers what it means, then you need to get close enough to him to do that. I know I always buy the longest lunge whips I can possibly find, but I'm a pretty big guy, so I can handle them. A lot of ladies can't literally hold up the whips that I use, but they make some good ones now that have lighter strings and things, and especially some of the sort of more traditional woven nylon ones that, if you're working someplace where there's water in the arena or something, they get waterlogged kind of and become very, very heavy to work with. I have a few of them all the time so that, I have one that's dry and clean, that isn't caked with mud and that sort of thing, or wet. The problem we work in wet arenas and things like that, and those whips can really become very heavy. Once again, I'm liking everything I'm seeing here. It's just, I just like to see him just that little bit more. I'd like to see you send him on just that little bit more so he works through from behind. But as you've gone on, this is getting better and better. That's good. He's dropping into the contact there quite nicely. So that was really nice. So you want to get to that point and then stay there consistently each day a little bit longer and a little bit longer. But I would suggest with this horse just putting the side reins lower to start with for a little while. That is more like down on the level of the horse's elbow. And then they can be a little bit longer as well. And that will encourage him to stretch into them quite a bit more. Once again, same thing here. Watch you're not getting in front of his eye. That's what slows him down. So a shorter rein and walk more with him. So that's why you had to stop there, because you had to wait for him to catch up. So you're just slightly getting ahead of the horse when you're lunging a lot of the time. Good stretch in the walk now. That's looking better. But see how he went down the side reins at this length for this horse. He kind of curled back, and that's not what we want. So once again, I'd put those side reins lower and a little bit longer. But once again, none of this work is bad. You're on the right track. Same thing here, just needs to be a little bit more active in that trot. It's just not quite. So you need to send him on just a bit more than what you're doing here. And realize that, like there, when you send him on a little bit, you see how that makes him come up into the bridle. Good riding starts from the back forward. All problems are really solved in exactly the same way, sending the horse deeper under the body and forward. Finding that right optimal moment. And that's what you're just not quite getting to the optimal pace that this horse could have. It just is just a little bit too slow. So he needs to swing a little more active, and of course he needs to get deeper in the stretch. But he's having some really nice moments, and he certainly doesn't resist those side reins terribly. So, even at the length you have him there, that's not a bad length, don't get me wrong here, but what I'm saying is when he starts to stretch, it starts to curl him over. So he needs a little more length and a little lower position of the side reins to start with. As he gets stronger over his back, which I think that, this is a really nice specimen of a horse in the sense that, he's got a lot of flesh on him and that sort of thing, and, he doesn't look like he's too hollow in the back. I think he'll turn into a really nice mover for you, but see how it's a little uneven there as he comes around? That's not a lameness, it's just that he's not really getting through enough. Now that's a little bit better there. Much better there. That's looking a lot better. There we go. Good. Good. Now see how the top part of the neck is starting to light up? That's what we want to see. So we're looking for that deep track underneath. And if you also notice, his hind legs aren't being left behind him so much. So that was good work. Just take those few suggestions that I gave you of dropping those side reins down and making them a little longer. Just try to keep him out on the circle a little more. Touch him occasionally with the whip if you need to be sure he understands that and remembers what it means so that you don't have to keep after him and nothing happens. But that was really a good job, and you're on the right track. Boy, he already looks so much better than you sent me a still picture of which his head was straight in the air, and he looked like a bit of a challenge. But you've really done a great job with him. Once again, it's just so wonderful to see. Training horses is not difficult when you know how. It does not take some Herculean feat of strength or some amazing level of skill as some people would like you to think. But a lot of people are overcomplicating horses so much, and it's such a mystery to the students because they see the trainer get on, get the horse all excited and whacked up, and and it all looks very impressive. But that isn't even how you want to ride to start with. So just quietly like this, once you can get a horse working over its back, if you can do that, and there's nothing physically wrong with you, and you're physically fit enough to actually ride a horse, which many people are not, that's it. The horse will develop and develop. Eventually, you'll be able to do collection, and the rest of it, in other words, flying changes, tempi changes, all of those kind of things are just, things that you teach the horse to respond to an aid. But they must be working correctly over their backs in order for that to have any value and not damage the horse in any way. But this is really a good walk you're getting. I'm liking this walk under saddle better than even the one that you had on the lunge line. He's getting rounder and it's just keeping him a little more active. And as to your position, once again, you look like a good rider. Your legs are in the right position. I'm not seeing anything too overly busy. Your back looks good from what I can see. It's a little hard with the jackets on, but you're sitting straight, and that's good, and you look supple in the saddle, so I don't have any problem with any of that. Your leg is hanging underneath you where it should, so that tells me your saddle must fit you at least pretty well. Obviously, it's hard for me to see, but from the way this horse is moving, looks like he's pretty happy in all the tack, so I don't think you've got a problem. There's a nice walk there. See how that step increased? There! Now that's beautiful. That's what we want to see. Now that's a nice working walk right there. That is really good. For the short time you've been working this horse on your own, you should be very proud of the work that you've done. This is wonderful. Maybe next time I'm in Canada, you'll be able to come and visit us over there in Edmonton. I don't know where you are, but we will be up there again this spring at some point. There, beautiful walk. Love it. And you can see, like, behind your leg there where your heel is, you can see how his flanks kind of are distended out. Once again, as he gets fitter and works with the back, you'll see that disappear. And that's what makes it easier, actually, to put your legs on the horse. When you're not, when his flanks pull in and his abdominal muscles pull in. Remember, it's not just the back. It's like Pilates for human beings. It's a core engagement. So as the back lifts, part of lifting the back is lifting the abdominal muscles and engaging their core. Same thing that we as riders should be doing all the time. But we have to do that without any tension. That's always the hard part. We don't want to pull our stomach in so hard that, we can't breathe. So it takes a while to develop that kind of athletic skill. Doing a great job here, really nice in the stretch. This is coming really nicely. The walk is getting better and better. It's quite a nice working walk. And remember, the term working means working over the back. That's what people seem to forget somewhere along the way. It's not how fast you're going. So working gaits mean working over the back. That's how we differentiate them from simply bad gaits or horses that are disconnected. But this is a really nice rhythmic walk here. He's really stepping up and actually much better than the walk that I saw on the lunge line. So this is really great work. Good, very nice. It's getting a little slow there again, but once again, let him add a little more, and you'll get the longer, more swinging walk. But this is really quite good, really quite good. There. Notice as he stretched down. Now, be careful also, because some horses, they'll start to stretch and then they'll quit on you a little bit. So be sure you keep sending him forward so we gain what we want to gain out of this. Now, just looking at you there, sometimes your leg is a little far back. You certainly wouldn't want it back any further than what you've got it there. Your inside leg could be just a little bit more forward underneath you, actually. But once again, not bad. And a really great walk you've got here. This is coming absolutely beautifully. This horse is really going to turn into something really nice for you. So, it's wonderful how the universe works, I think this horse got to you because you were the person. He finally found somebody who was sensitive enough to understand him and have his best intentions at heart. Not that a lot of students don't, but unfortunately today, I feel that a lot of trainers, just don't emphasize enough the partnership with the horse, and that it's not just forcing the horse to do everything, with that sort of rent string mentality, as I say. Really nice walk, and I love how you made that upwards transition. You didn't try to hold his head down, which is exactly what you want to do. As the horse gets better and better and more consistent in the contact, the transitions will just smooth themselves out. But you did just the right thing by sending him forward, not trying to hold his head down or anything. You got him moving, and then you softened him into the frame. And look how beautiful this is already. This is coming really nice. Once again, it could be a little bit bigger swing in it, but this is not bad at all. In fact, it's quite good. Nice wide circles there and wide turns is what I meant to say there. Remembering once again that a corner should just be the a quarter of the smallest circle you can perform. And with this horse, from what I'm seeing here, a 20-meter circle would be about the smallest circle that he's going to be able to perform and stay over his back. You know, I see all the time people say, oh, well, you need a circle. These small circles really help them. They only help them. Anything only helps the horse if it's over its back. You know, as people say, oh, we need to go out and take them up and down hills. Well, that's great for them if they're over their back. If they're not working over their back, going up and down hills, it's just going to end up with a horse sore in the back. You know, just like most other things that we do with them. So remember that once we have the horse working correctly, we want it to work correctly everywhere we go, inside and outside. But this is really nice. I can see that he counterflexes a little bit once in a while, but not bad. Now remember, that just becomes, he needs to stretch a little more. So we still need to get him a little bit deeper. Remember, you must have longitudinal bend. That is the bend upwards. The horse must lift up before it can bend from side to side. Once again, another point that I see people frustrating themselves with all the time and doing all kinds of crazy things like lunging through one of the stirrups so that you can pull the head around. That's not, when we talk about bending a horse, it's bend in the middle of the back we're not talking about, not bend at the neck. We never want to take the neck out of line with the spine. But as soon as you do, it'd be like trying to play the piano with your hands like, crimped over. You wouldn't be able to do it. Well, the same thing is true with the horse. You take his neck way out of line with the rest of the spine, and it's going to slow down the back end. But a lot of people do that for that reason. They think they're collecting, and all they're doing is slowing down. So slowing down is not the same thing as collection. Remember, collection means the lowering of the three joints of the hind legs and the degree to which the horse can maintain that lowering throughout all three gaits. It's not shortening the horse's step and getting to raise their knees higher. So again, this is really good. Nice swinging trot. Could get a little deeper at times, but you correct him every time he comes out of it. It's just wonderful to see how nicely this horse has come around to you for you in such a short period of time. There, really nice right there. Good work. As I said, I'm seeing people all over the world are sending me in these videos, and they're doing all this work all by themselves, in some cases, having to take their horses out of training with trainers who are refusing to do it. And that's what you should do. People watching this, this is how horses are trained. If your trainer or your friends are telling you, oh, all you're doing is running around the horse on the forehand, those are people who've never developed horses correctly, because they have to be on the forehand to start with, get them stretch over that. But a horse that's working over its back, even on a little bit on the forehand, is less on the forehand than a horse at the upper levels who's completely hollow. Remember that being on the forehand has nothing to do with how high the horse brings its legs. Like saddlebreds and all these gaited kind of horses, they snap their legs way up in the air, but they're completely on their forehand all the time. There's no suspension in their gaits whatsoever. There, it came back to a beautiful walk. I like that downward transition. Once again, nothing has been forced. You've just done everything really, really well here. Nice upwards transition again. Once again, you didn't try to hold his neck in position. You just went into the trot. And this is even a better trot now. Really good. Now that's really good. I like how he's getting longer there. Now that looks even better. So once again, before we can bring them up, we have to get them all the way down and consistent in the contact. Then we just very slowly bring them up. The horse will tell you how high it can come up, because when it suddenly hollows or stops moving, throws its head straight in the air, it's told you, you shortened me too much. I can't do this. So listen to your horse and they will tell you. We've got to stop this idea of, thinking everything is, we're just going to force the horse because they're big and strong and they should be able to do all this stuff. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Nature did not design horses to have people on their back. So we have to train them to be able to carry us. Otherwise, what we ask them to do is going to be very damaging and life-shortening for them, as it has become, ridiculous. Now we're seeing horses at, 5 and 6 being, and I've heard of ones even younger than that being injected. And that tells us that something is terribly, terribly wrong with the system. So again, good active trot here. It could be a little stretched a little bit deeper, but it's really coming very, very well. Yeah, I like that. And a little bit deeper yet, and you'll be there. But, for the short time you've been doing this, you've done a wonderful job with this horse. Nice leg yield there. Good. Just watch that you don't, remember when you rise to the trot to let go at your knee so you feel the weight a little more into your heel as you rise. That will help you just a little bit in terms of not swinging those legs back quite so far. About 1 in every 100 people I teach has the opposite. Most people put their legs too far forward, some put them too far back. So just beware of that. Is the only little thing I see with your position at all is once in a while your leg tends to get a little bit too far back. And that is, I'm saying this thing about the knee because it's often that problem, is the person puts too much tension in the knee and then they pull the horse way back. Put their leg way back, rather, excuse me. So a little less tension in the knee as you rise, and that'll keep your legs more directly underneath you. Now, of course, your outside leg should be back every time the horse is bent but it should be back from the hip, not from the knee. If you're in doubt about what I'm talking about here, there's a position video on our website that will explain all that to you, the secrets of the outside leg. Good work here. Once again, this is all really good work. And as I said, if you can do this with this horse, ultimately you can do anything else. Now remember, if you were working a jumper, all you would do would be to add poles and something to go over. In the immortal words of the great Jack Legoff, who was the best 3-day event coach ever, jumping is just dressage with fences in the way. So think of that. You have the horse that, in order for a horse to bascule over a fence correctly, that means to jump safely. Horses that jump hollow are not safe. I run into so many people who've been flipped over on things like this jumping. They don't realize, jump a horse hollow if it can't make, a horse that's jumping hollow is having a very difficult time moving forward over distance over fences. As the fences get wider, they tend to fall through the middle of them. Good downwards transition there. Once again, back to a good swinging walk. Once again, could all just be a little bit lower, but you're on the right track. There hasn't been a moment with this horse that he's been totally hollow. So that's really, really fantastic. And the horse has 3 good gaits. There's no reason why this horse, and it's only 11 years old. So you should have lots and lots of good years with this horse and be able to go right up through the ranks of dressage if you wish. Or apply it to jumping or whatever your inclination is, or if you're a 3-day event rider, maybe you do both, as I was for years. Very nice. Once again, just a little bit deeper, but this is all really good. Not a bad downwards transition. I like how you didn't just pull it, he didn't just slam on the brakes. Remember, there's not any time that we want to do sliding stops on horses. Sliding stops and just jamming the horse's back. So many people, we see them sit, and what they're doing is like a sliding stop. They're freezing their back, and then they wonder why they can't halt square. Well, if you do that to a horse, it freezes the back and freezes the hind legs in place wherever you are. So then they start beating them up trying to get a square halt. If you start riding the horses up through the back and simply stretch up into your halt rather than press down, you find the horses will step up square. Once again, a really good trot here. Could be a little bit lower once again. There, like that, and this is happening very, very nicely for you. It just needs to get a little bit deeper all the way around there, like that, more like that. And once again, you see for that 1 second, he puts that head down a little deeper, all of a sudden the hind leg steps deeper under the body. And that's what we want. Good. Once again, another good transition. Good because you didn't fight him. He's not ready to really stay there in the transitions yet. So doing what you're doing is just exactly what you want to do. Just start him and then adjust him. As the horse gets better and stronger, you'll just see that little hesitation or the lifting of the head in the transition will just all go away. And you'll find that as he gets rounder, he's going to start bending a little better for you. And that will be effortless. Once again, you can't force a horse to bend. You can't force a horse into collection. You have to develop them into those things. So once again, that's really not a little too much sitting trot right there, unless you were doing that just to bring him down to a walk, which you did, and that was good. Remember, we want to do very little sitting trot at this level. Till we get the horse all the way down in the stretch, we really don't want to do any sitting trot at all. And then when you do start sitting trot, that's where you start it. When the horse is stretched all the way down, you know the horse's back is up underneath you. Then you get that wonderful feeling of the wave through the horse's back just lifting you up and carrying you along. Good stretching there. Getting some better moments. So once again, just a little bit longer and you're going to have it. Really, really nice. Once again, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride with our good friends Erin and Sonny, who's done a wonderful job with this horse all by herself. And keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing your next one. Start adding in a little more leg yields and shoulder ins to your work, and maybe the next time we can take a little more canter. See you next time.